My wife says that she'd be more interested in sex if I did more chores around the house. So I've been doing more chores. Doesn't seem to really be helping. In fact, it's been years now, and I seem to be doing everything. Men ask us this question all the time. We read this question on the forums, and I have some examples for us today. Welcome to the C Note Show. This is Jeff and Cynthia with Great Men Move Mountains. We love seeing you guys here. We've been on summer break for a few weeks, so we're excited to get back into it. And let's jump into I'm doing all the chores and it's not helping my marriage. Well, what do I do? We're going to have three specific things to do, to consider, to change your approach by the end of this call today. The C Note Show, we're here to teach how to love and lead with mojo like a king in your relationship and long-term monogamous relationship. You want to avoid mistakes, fix deep problems, and learn how to offer her safety, inspiration, and sexual leadership in marriage. And not only is love and relationship a science, but it's also an art. And we teach both of those here on the C Note Show. Last time we talked about what does putting me first look like in marriage. So go back and watch that last episode. Today, I'm doing all the chores and it's not helping my marriage. It's not really about the chores, right? So there's this concept out there called chore play. And this is actually from Urban Dictionary. And Urban Dictionary defines chore play as the act of doing chores around the house in an effort to win sexual favor from your significant other. Like Pickles apparently here says, last night my husband made dinner and set the table and cleaned up the kitchen, and then he started a load of laundry and Pickles was getting hot. Apparently, yeah, not really, because her man did chores around the house, or maybe this is vice versa. Maybe this is a man about her woman, about his woman. But doing chores around the house in an effort to win something, in an effort to cajole something, a tit for tat, or I'm trying to be a good boy and please her so she does more for me. Chore play. This is from a Reddit post. This man says, over the years, I've tried to increase the things I do around the house in an effort to get my wife to appreciate me more. It's not just about sex. I thought that if we at least shared most of the chores, then it would improve our overall relationship and she wouldn't feel like we had some weird 1950s dynamic going where women were expected to do all the work, all the housework. Fast forward 15 years, and now I do nearly all the cooking, cleaning, vacuuming, laundry, bathrooms, dusting, dishes, etc., and other household chores, and it's had quite the opposite effect. The only time she will say anything about it is something such as, the toilets sure could use a cleaning, or we definitely need to vacuum in here. And then she won't do anything about it. She leaves her dirty dishes around because she knows I'll clean them up. It's like she got used to me doing those things, and now I'm just expected to do them. Our sex life hasn't improved one iota. It's actually gotten worse, if anything. So if you're thinking you might use chore play to improve your relationship, it quite possibly could have the opposite effect, which is just really discouraging. Silver lining, though, I've actually really grown to like housework. I just wish she appreciated it like I thought she would. And this is a good representation, right, Cynthia, of the men that we work with. It's not that we want her to be a 1950s housewife. It's not that we're opposed to doing chores. It's men that come and that are here with us live, that are watching this, me in the past. I wanted to continue to be a better man, step up, take responsibility. Okay, she's tired, I'll do more. Okay, I read that I need to be giving more, and hopefully she finds it sexy when I do more chores. And like this man, all of a sudden, fast forward years later, and it just seems to be an expectation. It hasn't helped anything. So let's break this down. Number one, if I'm doing this with an expectation, then that she's going to do something for me, really.
Mhm.
Let's start there. What does that feel like for you as a woman?
Yeah, I mean, especially if things are unspoken, it's that unspoken energy, even from her or coming back from you about uh well, A plus B equals C. I do the dishes. She doesn't have to do them, so she feels more relaxed. So that's going to remove the barrier to sex because she said she was too stressed out. Because it's so unspoken, because it's so underneath the surface, she will only feel that as if you only do things to get sex from her, or if you only do things to get intimacy from her. And that kind of goes along that line of her feeling less like a person and more like an interchangeable object. And that's completely not true in reality, but she will react as if um, there's manipulation going on and she can't trust you, even if this has been an agreement early on in the relationship.
So why can't she trust me? I mean, we're in marriage together, we're in a relationship together. She says that she's tired or she looks tired, so I'm just trying to do more. Why isn't why doesn't that help her desire sex more?
Yeah, I mean, so that we've got the energy of she feels manipulated, and women are so ready to feel that. It's like they have feelers coming out looking for who's trying to manipulate them because that's how women, even amongst each other, that's their biggest threat. The emotional underpull of things. And then the other part of that is the way women we're going to do things together, whether it's a coworker at work or co-parenting or taking around the house, is if I give you this load, there's really no relationship involved in it. I just know that you're going to spin the wheels over here. I'm going to spin the wheels over here. And that's a completely neutralizing energy. That she has, and it kind of goes back to that instinctual, as long as everyone's hoeing the right row in the fields, then survival is going to be okay.
So there's the levels 1, 2, and 3, and I normally have a graphic for this. I don't have it queued up today. The levels of relationship. Level 1 is caveman, cavewoman, instinctual desire. So she's instinctually concerned about manipulation. And as a man, I'm trying to take responsibility. Okay. Which actually is more of the level two. The level two is we negotiate, we talk about things, open communication, nonviolent communication, directness. But in level two, we're roommates. There's really no sexual desire there. Right. And then level three is what we teach, what we practice, what every man here wants, which is open, blooming intimacy together where we have more spiritual connection, let's say, where we smile at each other when we see each other in the morning without expectation, so to speak. Right. So where is the man going off the rails in this 1, 2, 3, level 1, 2, 3, when he's expecting to take things off her plate? And then you're saying it's more this instinctual. Let me ask this in a different way. What does the woman's perspective need to be for her to actually appreciate what this man is doing? If he's doing this to try to get something from her, is that even possible? What does her perspective need to be here? And then we'll go over to what he's doing wrong.
Yeah, I would. So I would jump immediately to level 3, that what I would want from her, any woman who's lucky enough to be receiving that the masculines there saying, hey, I'm going to grab this heavy load and take it from your back, and we're going to put it over here and move it in a different way. What I would want from her is to feel that you are honoring a deep feminine part of her that is not currently breathing, that's not currently sourcing her own flow or joy, and that she recognizes that she's being a gift. It's being a gift that she can move into that more, that the masculine's putting container around this experience for her, as opposed to not recognizing that and then getting really stuck in the equal, you're not carrying your load, or I'm just going to have you do this so I don't ever have to feel tension or stress or my own kind of obsessive needs for things to be a certain way.
Good. So say more about that. Is this his failure in approach of how he's seeing? He's not seeing her femininity. He's not seeing the sacredness within her. It's more of a he's expecting kind of a roommate exchange, but sex is on that list. Is that what you're saying? Say more about that.
Yeah, but there's so many layers to get to that, and I understand that. Well, a woman who's trying to throw burden off of herself onto you, what is her deepest desire there? It's to get back to her femininity, to feel some flow, to feel some breeze in herself, to feel her type of freedom. But she's not recognizing that, and she's gotten stuck in patterns of maybe how she saw her mother do it or other women, and it's become this controlling, regimented, trying to create walls around what has to be done at home just so she won't feel stressed, just so she feels like she's on top of everything. Because what's the fear? If all this goes to chaos, there's something really scary that could happen.
So I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that a lot of women don't know that that's what they want. A lot of women don't know that they want to feel free to express this level of femininity. So you're learning that as a man, and often you have to guide your woman there, even if she's aware. So as advanced practitioners, there's still the dance of polarity in the moment. So if I do something to try to get affection from Cynthia, like hoping that this earns me sex in some way. And then I'm growing resentment. And there's this weird like expectation. If I'm not leading, then it's not going to play out well. Right. So even though I know this and she knows this, we still have to do the practices in the moment. So we definitely want to hear your questions in the chat. I'll step forward to a couple of more posts here. We've got a video I'm going to show today, actually from the office too. Here's another post from that same forum. This person says, being a functional adult on its own isn't enough to build attraction. That's where the disconnect is, and why just doing more shit around the house doesn't result in more sex. Okay. So either of you just being a functional adult doesn't help desire between the two of you. And that's what this person says exactly. It's pretty much the same with the recommendations to simply schedule sex. Scheduling can help create the opportunity, but it won't necessarily fix the issue if it's a desire problem to start. So, what do you think that they mean by a desire problem to start? This is what we teach every day. What's your impression of what's a desire problem when she comes and says, "Oh, I'd be more like ready for sex if all the chores were done, if the house were perfect." But if it's not really about that, if it's a desire problem, what would you say there?
Yeah, I would say that has to do with uh her struggles with feeling like she needs to control her outside circumstances to feel a certain way. So desire, I mean, we can talk about it being spontaneous, but we also can talk about it being invited. But if we really move into the feminine body, it's there in her core existence. And what women do is they take a lot of trying to control outside circumstances, trying to control her, how she feels about things through tasking, through details. And it part of that is she feels like she has to have that masculine prowess in the world, but that the other part of that is the fear of feeling vulnerable, um the vulnerability of intimacy. And there's so much in our world that teaches her how to kind of stuff that down with how, you have to do this at your job, you have to do this as a mom, you have to wear these different clothes that are different than what her actual nature is.
So let's open it up for questions before we get too far into more of these slides and the video. Certainly. So in the chat, I also think there's a balance of household chores versus castle wall chores. If you're not doing the castle wall chores, then she can't even feel safe. How do you mean about castle wall chores?
Well, I've done a pretty shit job of like maintaining our house over the years. And I think as the castle walls start to look a little crumbly or in disrepair, like with the benefit of this work in hindsight, I can look back and see how my wife, how that sort of feeds into her feeling of safety. And what I've noticed is doing a little sprinkling of some of the inside stuff, but really focusing on for myself and for for the sake of having a strong castle, like taking care of a lot of the outside stuff has really, I think I've really seen a shift in her perception of me in that dimension.
Yeah, so there's a certain level of us taking care of the house in our way, what I'm hearing you say, for her to feel safe, for her to feel comfortable. What would you say more to that? I can hear men like, yeah, okay, I need to be responsible. But also, what if that's never ending? What if she just never ending is complaining about what I'm not doing to make her feel safe? What's that really about, likely?
Yes, that's so I'm so gratified to hear you say, hey, just a sprinkling, it has a positive effect on her femininity. And I think that's the difference when uh the feminine can feel the masculine's intent, uh, and really respond to the intent of that, and take it in. That's a really wonderful sign of her opening to that. And that is not just about the tasking on the outside. If she's never happy, she can never take that in. It's an inner judgment of herself, an inner judgment of you, and a refusal to relax into, or an unknowingness about what your intent as the masculine in her life is. So she feels like she has to manipulate to give her a feeling of things are solid, uh, you are solid, things look exactly the way she thinks they should look, and they never can meet that. And so there's a constant disregard or unhappiness or disappointment or seeking for solid feelings.
Yeah. So let me ask, you've been doing this work for a while. How do you differentiate? How do you know if your wife's request is a never-ending cover story versus it's something legitimate that maybe she really does need to feel safe about these castle wall things that you can fix around the house, for instance?
Well, actually, I kind of think it is never ending, and that's okay. Like that discomfort level, like life is busy and complicated and not like shiny and wonderful all the time. But I think what I meant by a sprinkling is not that I never do any household chores. I think it's more that like I will sprinkle in a bit of above and beyond or taking some of her burden. Like we kind of have this rule that like no one's allowed to suffer more than the other person, right?
Mm.
If someone's sitting back on the couch with their hands back while the other person's running around getting the kids shit together, that's out of balance. And I think one of the things I did in the past was try and focus on the household stuff as part of that balance rather than some of the external stuff that's maybe a little bit more masculine. I don't want to be presumptuous there, but like, the fence falling over and the roof is 20 years old and all of that stuff that she's not going to do. And she expects that I'm going to do. And by virtue of not doing it, she's looking around like, shit, is this castle even going to be standing in a year?
Yeah, yeah. That's fair to say. In your relationship, has that been overtly communicated? Have you 2 talked about, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna take care of," and she said, "Hey, I want you to take care of these things," or is this just you've been in an unspoken way figuring this out?
More unspoken, but I think like I've seen her respond positively. Like yesterday, there's an absolute like mountain of laundry that she did that needed to be folded. Like the couch was buried, had like a Mount Everest profile to it. And I was like, hey, I got to go screw some brackets into the deck and I got to cut the grass. And like, why don't you tackle this and I'll tackle that? And like, she appreciated that. Instead of maybe my reaction in the past would have been to put off the grass in the deck and like do the laundry. But then, the deck's falling down and she doesn't feel safe. So it's almost like she can't appreciate the extra stuff that I'm doing in the house if I haven't taken care of the castle.
Yeah. So what are you seeing within as a tenant of this work? What is he doing that maybe he wasn't doing in the past in your view?
Oh, well, I always appreciate your authenticity of, hey, in the past this was different. Now I'm doing this in a new way. I think what I feel and gravitate toward is this is coming directly from you, and it's something that is moving in you and your energy and your masculinity that you want to take care of, and it's part of the castle you want to create. And none of it is it feels like it's a positive pressure, not a negative trying to please in any way. And I can only imagine how solid that feels on the other side of that, in partnership with you in this home that you share together.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I appreciate it. Some more in the chat. Why wouldn't a wife see all the other things that aren't obvious chores that we do, that we as men do? Dishes, laundry. So why wouldn't his wife see other things that aren't obvious? Come and say more about that, and then I want to ask a question about it, please.
I've been accused of like if I didn't do anything, nothing would get done, and it's just like for real, like
Oh,
that one sticks to me in terms of nothing. We would not be here or anywhere if I were not going to work and bringing home the bacon, and so it's like I don't know if I just never got credit for that. And not that I was looking for credit for it or like, hey, look at me, I did all this, but it's kind of like we sort of had an agreement, like, you don't have to work and you can take care of the kids and, almost unspoken agreement, which maybe that was the issue. And I handle the chores like, screwing deck things in or whatever. But yeah, none of that mattered. And now I get the thing, well, it's really hard to have a full-time job and take care of 3 kids at the same time. Well, it's like, well, hey, I do it 50% of the time now.
Right. Yeah.
So it was frustrating to get to that point. And I almost feel like at the end of my relationship with her, it's like, oh, well, all the, like, I feel like that was one of the things. Like she felt that I didn't do anything with the kids. And now I'm doing all things with the kids and she's not mad at me anymore.
And well, one thing that I'm chuckling because one thing we know about you and your relationship is that you've learned that she wasn't expressing herself pretty much the entire relationship. She wasn't really showing you all the levels of her own self, her emotions and such. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, completely.
So let me ask Cynthia. Thank you. So if a woman, right or wrong, let's say she has decided that, or that's her personality, or she's hiding herself for whatever reasons that she feels she needs to do, and she hasn't been sharing her emotions along the way, and just said there's an unspoken, maybe that was the problem, which is part of it, right? Unspoken expectation. He's going to go kick ass in the world and make all the money, and she doesn't have to work. She's going to raise the kids. And then now there's this apparent resentment that's grown or did grow within her of if she didn't do anything, nothing would get done. Say more about what that's about. What are the layers within her that she hasn't expressed and that really a man needs to excavate there?
Yeah. So what's the deepest calling of her at the core? It's a call out for partnership, but not the kind of level 2 I do you do, more of a being met, understood, feeling like a part of something, a part of an energy forward, an adventure forward that she contributes to as well. And so, with her total lack of not connecting to how she's feeling about things, not expressing how she's feeling, totally locking that down, that core feminine desire gets just pushed and pushed. And these layers feel awful in her, and each layer, because it's so stagnant in her own, clutching and bearing down on herself, she's going to feel resentment because there isn't this other energy that she gets to feel with you. And then that comes out in really peculiar, level 2, level 1 ways of, if you had just done this, or it's because you don't do this that she feels that way.
So this is, it's not really about the chores. It's about the deeper calling that she doesn't, again, the reason we're doing this work, the reason Cynthia and I are here is to name and point at what we all feel like we want, but don't know how to cultivate or don't know how to put words to it or actions to it. So she wants a deeper being met, but she doesn't know what that is or how to articulate that. And she's got shields from childhood to past, etc. And she's just complaining about the pain of the shielding,
Yeah.
is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So you as a man need to know that and know that there is this. So say it again, the most deepest desire there for identity.
Yeah, the deepest desire is to be in connection and partnership with you, a journey with you. Because if a woman is not like, basically duct taping herself away from her femininity, her core essence wants to contribute to the journey, the adventure that your container is creating, feels lovely about that, feels in partnership, feels in a dance with you on. It can't just happen magically. In our current world, women are taught to believe that that will just happen magically, that feeling will happen magically if the masculine kind of takes away all their burdens, and consequently she then kind of blames the masculine for her feeling lost.
Well, that's the level 1 in our vernacular. I go kill the buffalo, and she's in the cave waiting for me to provide, and there's sexual desire, but that's not what building a life together is. And so we want to keep moving through that to this level 3.
Yeah, can I just say
Yeah,
one more?
please. Yeah.
Like that is, I mean, I don't know if you've been listening in on my conversation with Cynthia, but she said exactly that. She's like, you never made me feel like a partner. And I'm like, I mean, and what you're saying there is like, wow, that is dead nuts accurate to exactly what she said. And, and it was too late when she told me that, I don't know, a couple months ago. And just as a final note for the guys on this call, as of July 3rd, I am officially divorced.
Is that a congratulations? Is that
I
what
don't
would you
know.
like us to say?
I
Yeah.
sent you an email.
Oh,
It's
good.
just notification.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you know,
Congratulations, I guess.
right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was.
I mean,
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's almost like it. Do you, when you attend a funeral, do you celebrate or do you mourn? You do both,
Yeah.
right? You do both. It's about both ends of the emotional range here, right? I'm happy to laugh along with you and feel the pain along with you as we have done along the way. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being here. Good stuff. Yeah, please come on in.
Just a small thing. I found, I think it was a distinction between household chores and castle chores or castle wall chores. Really, and this is kind of like suddenly scales fell from my eyes. And this might be useful for other people here because they might be in the same position. I was always very good about household chores. I've always cooked the dinner and made the dishes and done the dishes and all that stuff. But I was terrible about keeping the house up. And I don't mean doing it myself. I'm not a handyman. I can call, I mean, I live in a big city. I can call a contractor. And it was one of her greatest complaints that the house was falling apart. The walls are, need to be repainted and this needs to be. And I hated dealing with contractors. And I realized there's something really deep here, which is about security. Doing the household chores may relieve her of some burdens, but it doesn't make her feel more secure. But attending to, even if it's just by calling contractors, the castle wall chores, that's about security in a way in which washing the dishes isn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a core idea of polarity in all of our work, as you guys know that know us. And part of this is she's instinctually going to want you to take care. Like this is what you're saying. She's going to want you to take care of the castle walls. This is discussed in the chat a little bit here as well. And I just skimmed over. Yeah, it's not about you being able to fix everything. It's about you taking care of it and hiring. And I just skimmed it and looks like what you were saying here as well, guys. Is you can take care of it by hiring a contractor, but to your point, you just avoided it. It sounds like, is that fair?
Yeah, partly because I have anxiety about dealing with contractors, because it's that's its own shit show, and just laziness, whatever. The reasons don't matter. I didn't realize until this very call that there is this different kind of chore, and it is actually deeper. It speaks to a deeper part of what she needs, which is she needs to feel secure. She needs to feel that this house is going to be standing in 5 years.
Yeah, good. So let's. I want to talk with Cynthia about that for a minute. So I'll press pause on you.
Yeah.
I can hear a man saying, "Well, how the hell am I supposed to know that? She didn't tell me."
Yeah.
Right. Well, part of the skill of this work that we teach and why you're here is to learn to know that there is that level 1, and then to excavate that with her. So she might say, nothing would get done around here if I didn't do it. And man, the house is falling apart. And instead of being defensive and trying to deal with the symptom, the words that she's saying, it's to go toward what does this mean for you? What does the house falling apart make you feel down into your core? What does that mean when we haven't had the walls painted for 6 months? And what does she have to then access to be able to give a level 3 response? Because she might just say, well, you're being lazy. I've asked you to do this. You're not taking care of things, which is not level 3. But what does a level 3 response from a woman sound like and look like?
Yeah, because I can already hear if she's kind of in the mothering, judgmental, critical mode, that won't go in. What she has to access is her own willingness to express vulnerability, to express an openness to having you hear from her that there is an instinctual fear in this, because both of us in relationship, part of being in polarity is there's is there's the vulnerability of accepting what the other person's giving, providing. And she has that regardless of how many layers she's put on that. That's always there, even if she won't admit it verbally, or even if it comes out with a critical approach.
So say that again, maybe in a different way. Accepting what the other person's providing. Say more.
Yeah, there's to fully touch into her instinctual part of her femininity is to recognize that she is vulnerable to this castle and vulnerable to the safety that you're willing to provide in this for her. She's not owning the castle all on her own. She's recognizing that this truly is partnership. And part of partnership for the feminine is I will always have a part of me that's vulnerable to you. To be in intimacy with you always leaves there's a part of me that's vulnerable.
Yeah, good. So we need to know as men that her feeling unsettled is okay, and you aren't going to fix it once and for all for her. It's not your job. It's not even possible for her to always feel okay and fully settled when she's in her feminine experience. So you praise her for coming to you with her emotion. You praise her for sharing that she feels unsettled about things. This is the journey that the two of you are taking together, and you don't get defensive about that. You don't think you're failing as a man. Is that fair to say? Did you add anything to that?
Yeah, what a gift. Like, I hope you can hear what an absolute gift it is for you with your woman to recognize and see the strength in her expressing something that's vulnerable, expressing something that's real in more in that instinctual way. Because there's a lot in the outside world or her family that told her to shut those feelings down, or that makes her weak. And so you seeing that as strength, as positive, even even if you have to do it 100 times before there's a little glimmer of her believing it, uh, that is just the hugest amazing. I think that to me that's the biggest gift that the masculine offers up to the feminine, and it truly is an offering.
Yeah, and it takes practice, and you're not going to do it in one moment. And it's like if you want to eat a banana, you have to peel away the outside. If you want to eat an onion, you're cutting away the outside. She may not know that she needs to pull the peel away because it's vulnerable for her. You need to know that that's what you're going for and the skills of how to do that. Okay, let's take a step forward. This is what we teach: masculine frame, safety, leadership, and intimacy. We can talk about more about these things as we do all the time. If you want to get on our book wait list, get notifications of our teaching videos, invites to these group calls, greatmenmovemountains.com/new subscriber. If everything is just fun, we're not actually doing life, right? Nobody wants to do chores. Nobody wants to be responsible for chores necessarily, but what are we doing here? So there's the idea of desire. So the fun, the wheel spins and there's prizes. There's the idea of desire. And then there's the idea of the container of the relationship. What's the journey that we're on? Why are we doing this together? Even though it sounds difficult, painful, hard sometimes, even though there's the negative emotions of life, this is a part of the journey that you as a man, this is your masculine grounding, that you know that these things are necessary and okay. And someday we're all going to die, and none of this is that big of a deal. And you know that in your heart. And that's why you're doing this work, so you can have compassion along the way and lead along the way. So, very fast, Gottman Institute does not talk about that this is usually a desire problem underneath the surface. He says, according to Dr. John Gottman, women find a man's willingness to do housework extremely erotic. No, she doesn't. She finds all the rest of your frame to take care of the castle walls, as was said. She finds those things erotic, that you're not making a big deal out of these things, that you want to be in a journey together. That's what she finds erotic. So, number one, if no one else were around, what would you already be doing yourself? If your wife wasn't there, if no one else was helping you with chores, what would you already have to do on your own anyway? It's something to consider. Number two, while resentment does undermine attraction, her lack of desire is not really about the chores. Cynthia illuminated this repeatedly today. Go back and watch this video again. If you have questions about this, write to us, ask us about this. And number three, the big mistake here is, are you as a man playing out a covert contract, as Robert Glover would say, because that's manipulation, and women smell and are repulsed by manipulation. They smell it a mile away. It's definitely something you don't want to do. So check out our stuff, Great Men Move Mountains. Cynthia, what are some final words that you would say today for the men to take away, please?
I so appreciate your kingly eye and how you as a man can take in the situation with her, how you can hold in one hand, you know that there's anxiety there and that it's an instinctual anxiety, that it's not really about the present moment. And you have this amazing ability to also stay incredibly true to who you are. And that to me is that solid presence that I keep referring to, that I don't find women able to really maintain within themselves. Every time when I feel your solidness, I have gratitude for what you're bringing to the world, to your family, to her, or even to the next person or woman in your life.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. See you guys next time. Great to see you. Bye, guys.